Hello, Toro fans, and welcome to Tauros All Access. It's the Thursday weekend preview edition. As always, I'm Edward Nieman, joined alongside by Lauren Hill. Lauren, another episode of Tauros All Access. Another weekend of Tauros hockey is upon us.
Yes, and we are traveling to Forest Lake, Minnesota to play the Mallards for the third series, I should say, in the past month. This is our second time traveling to them as we hosted them last weekend and swept. Actually, both series we swept. Hopefully we can do that again this weekend.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Lauren, Tauros finding a lot of success against this Mallards team. A lot of goals this weekend, like we mentioned in the weekend recap back on Monday. Tauros take the win the Friday night contest last week, 7-1, and then another good performance on Saturday night on Teddy Bear Toss night, making it 4-1. But yeah, it's been a lot of scoring against this Minnesota team. 23 goals through the 4 wins. Tauros, obviously, both weekends really putting in some effective offensive work. In that first series back down in Forest Lake, it was 6 goals in each of those games. And the impressive thing to me was the Tauros netted 6 goals on each of their goaltenders. So obviously the Tauros are just finding a lot of success offensively against this Mallards team, whatever way you slice it.
I'd like to bring up the standings as well. The Minotauros stand at third in the Central Division, as Minnesota Mallards stand at 7th in the division. We also have a 4-game winning streak. Would also like to mention that we have a 6-game home winning streak, so I think that's very interesting. And we will be back home in the Mesa next weekend.
And like you mentioned, the 4-game winning streak. Obviously, the Tauros, you go back a couple weeks now, swept the Shamrocks. Nice sweep against the Mallards this past weekend. So I think good opportunity here for the Tauros to get some momentum built up before we go into that holiday break. You look at this weekend against the Mallards, and the Tauros are back home inside the Mesa Arena to take on, which as right now is the second-place Austin Bruins team. So obviously want to have some momentum going into that series, and then of course rounding out the year down in Bismarck against the first-place Bismarck Bobcat team. But in these last 4 games, Tauros outscoring their opponents by quite a bit. So I expect to see a lot of that same scoring this weekend down in Forest Lake.
Yeah, I agree. Also, we want to update y'all on these skater stats. Ian Spencer stood at number 1 for a while there. He is now at number 2 with 32 total points, as Jesse Uhala has surpassed him with 33 total points, with 11 goals on the year and 22 assists, equaling that 33 as Ian Spencer is at 12 goals with 20 assists, and our lovely Jack O'Hannison, who broke that 100-point record, is just below them with 30 total points with 7 goals and 23 assists.
And 19-5, that was the number I was just looking for. The Tauros in the last 4 games have outscored their opponents 19-5. And you look at this Mallards team as well. They've allowed quite a bit of goals. It's not that they're not scoring goals. They average just under 3 goals a game. So offensively they're playing well, but they allow almost 4.5 goals a game. So I think that list you just read off, Lauren, definitely keep an eye out for those players, as I anticipate those players to be once again effective, especially in the goal scoring column. But all in all, Tauros' last trip down to Forest Lake. Next time these two will meet will be in March, obviously, here at the Mesa Arena. So definitely Tauros want to make a good impression before they don't see this team for a few months.
And speaking about being back in the Mesa, if you look at the poster behind Edward, we do have Star Wars night coming up, as well as the poster behind me. December 20th is that Friday game, and December 21st is that Saturday game. December 20th is our Christmas game. So we would love to have you back in the Mesa, dressed in any kind of Christmas gear you want to be dressed in, decked all out. And then that next night, the 21st, is Star Wars night. And we have a lot of fun surprises that we cannot share with you just yet, but we are very excited about that game as well. And those 2 games are our last games of the year, so please be here. And if you're not, be here on January 3rd and 4th, because we are also back in the Mesa then.
Definitely an exciting time to be a Tauros fan, Lauren. I'm excited for those 2 weekends. It'll be my last 2 games inside the Mesa Arena. I'm very excited that I got to see both the Christmas and Star Wars night. Like Lauren said, a lot of fun stuff. For the most up-to-date information, I would say you can tune into Tauros All Access next week. I think we're going to start to tease some of that stuff. And obviously, being a daily show, you'll get the most up-to-date information. So make sure to tune in to that. But any final thoughts, Lauren, before we hit the road off to Minnesota?
Honestly, I think that it's going to be a very, very high-scoring weekend, as we tend to have that when we play the Minnesota Mallards. You know a little bit more than I do about Forest Lake, as you have traveled down there. I've heard that the barn is something to see, and that the town Forest Lake is very interesting, as well as they have a Chipotle. So hopefully you'll be able to, to indulge on that. But do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm excited to be back on the road in Forest Lake, obviously with the crew. Another good opportunity for the Tauros to pick up 4 points against a team that we've already seen them, obviously, as we've stated time and time again throughout this episode, has had success with. So I anticipate more of the same from the Tauros, and I'm excited to get those games underway. As always, you can scan that QR code. Our website now has the weekend preview article published, so if you want to dig into some of those Noodles numbers and see what games are happening around the rest of the division this weekend, make sure to go check out that article as the Tauros begin to wind things down on the calendar year, as well as our social medias will be linked there as well. A lot of good content you guys are putting out these past couple days, and especially leading up to this weekend between Christmas with the Tauros and Star Wars night. I think there's a lot of good things that Toro fans will be able to see, so make sure to scan that QR code and give those a follow. So with that, we'll send it off. You can tune in tomorrow to the Farmers Union Insurance pregame show before the Tauros take on the Mallards. Puck drop tomorrow night is 7 o'clock, so a few minutes before, definitely tune into the Farmers Union pregame insurance show to see me, Lauren Hill, and Ken Oda break down all of the action. But until then, we'll say so long until next week here on Tauros All Access. We appreciate you watching.